Good morning and welcome to the seventh part of Kin in Line. This may look like a spaceship or something, but this was me attempting early on to do some, not life drawing, but object drawing. And this was actually a piece of driftwood, and being still sort of trapped in my pre-art school drawing period, I took the opportunity to sort of turn this into a weird object with almost like a spaceship. But that was kind of a cop-out. It was a way of getting around trying to do a real natural drawing. So let's see how we progress. I found this is a much bigger layout pad. I've just sort of uncovered this, and it's full of some really interesting, if somewhat naive, early works. So let's do these before we go back to where I was, which was quite near the end of my art school days. So here's the same piece of driftwood, which I've attempted to draw using different techniques. And actually the one on the top there looks not too bad in terms of the shading. Again, it is proof that object drawing can help with your life drawing, because it's an easier way of learning to do shading without the pressures of having to capture the human form. Here I again proceeded to turn this object into a sort of an abstract composition. Quite interesting in its own right, I guess. Okay, so we also did a bit of typography, but I found it, well, interesting. Everything's interesting in art. I'm not going to put paper under each one of these because they're not really worth it, but here you can see there's the big flaw, is bold outlines, cross-hatching. At this point, I was still so young and naive that I thought if I just drew boldly, it would work, And the next example is even a clearer evidence of that. So here I threw in a few wavy lines, and look at the drawing there. It's just, this must have been my first year, and heavens, you can see why, to begin with, one was pretty desperate. This wasn't going to take me anywhere. Okay, that's another sort of wishy-washy attempt. And another, here I just use a sort of, I can remember these evenings. We used to have evening classes as well as on a Monday night, and really it wasn't fun. Yeah, all you can say is that there's evidence here that I was at art school trying to learn to draw. So we were in history of art, we were learning about people like Ingres, I think is how the French pronounce him, and we were told that he used outlines very strongly, and I think I must have tried to use that as a model for this. Yeah, we're back doing our typography. Quite a nice exercise in its own right. one of my little abstract efforts. Okay, so this is upside down, and what we have here is we did an outing to one of those many outings to the East London Harbour, and I'd totally forgotten about this drawing, but there you see a few. It's an attempt at a drawing, but why I even would have taken a big pad like this to try and draw in, I don't know. But anyway, for what it was worth. Right. So again, unfortunately, the picture behind is shining through this. But this was a view from on top of Cove Rock, which is about 30 k's west of East London. And that's a wave sort of breaking seen from the top of Cove Rock. I remember Jack Lugg actually looking at this and quite enjoying the drawing. Here I'm not even sure which way up this goes. No, let's just ignore it. And another bit of sort of escapist frivolity. Perspective, as I said earlier, was part of our course. So yeah, we do a little bit of perspective drawing. Of course, it was the basis of the Renaissance, so very important. And as I said, we used to sketch each other. We would be asked to pose, and I mean, this is really very juvenile drawing. Very much a struggle to get to grips with this. I can almost picture this woman as I can picture this guy. Can't remember his name though. This has a sort of quality like an illustration where you leave parts of the figure out. So I must have seen a few of those and thought, well, that's a way of doing it. Then we had another sort of lecturer, apart from Jack Lugg, and he took evening classes for drawing, so this was his attempt to show me how to do it, and it's not a bad drawing. He too clearly had expertise. Gert van Zyl was his name. He was actually a photography lecturer, but he took these evening classes. Yeah, more of the same, sort of struggling along. Again, is this an illustration? What is it trying to be? It's certainly not trying to be a great sketch from life, but at the same time, there's the line quality isn't too bad. Oh, weird to see these pictures of people who I can sort of vaguely remember from, what is it, about 45 years ago. And here I've sort of ventured out into creating my own little woman knitting on a bench. And we're back doing object drawing, probably first or second year. Must have been first year. You know, be bold, and you think that you're achieving something, but boldness doesn't necessarily mean success. However, I think the quality here isn't bad. I've certainly done worse. More Détente, my aunt. There was talk of Prime Minister Forster wanting to speak to African leaders, and the big new word that everybody bandied about was détente. So I used that as a word in my in this little exercise for typography. Going to have to sign off here. We'll be back to continue in this book. Thanks. Cheers.